everybody, what's going on? Thank you so much for checking out this video. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna get into it real quick. My top 3 baits for cold, muddy water. It's the time of the year, you know, we have a lot of rain and some cool temperatures moving in. We had kind of a mild winter so far, but as of this week, it's got really cold, so it kind of can make the fishing a little tricky. You know, you kind of don't know what to do. Kind of makes it, like I said, a little tricky, a little bit more difficult to get out there on the lake or the pond and get a bite. So like I said, I'm going to be going over my 3 top lures for cold, muddy water, and I have one honorable mention that I'm going to throw in at the end. So to go ahead and get into it, number 1, my favorite bait for cold, muddy water is going to be a spinnerbait, and it's a particular spinnerbait, and it's got a Colorado blade that you can see, but it's painted bright red, you know, almost like a bright red, orange color. I like a chartreuse and white skirt. I have a big gold willow leaf blade, and you can even put on a hammered blade, meaning like the blade has bumps on it. It's almost like it looks like scales on the blade. That's called a hammered blade. It just adds a little bit more thump in the water. But like I said, that's my favorite. My number 1 lure for cold, muddy water is just a spinnerbait like that. I have a little paddle tail swim out on the back for a little bit more action, but the main thing is that red Colorado blade and that big gold willow leaf blade just back there kicking, and that chartreuse and white is a great color. And I'm not gonna go through the whole setup, line, rod reel, all that stuff. I have other videos in the past about this, so look in my description. I'm gonna link every video for all my lures. I'm gonna put a link where you can watch my exact setup. But like I said, this video is just going to be the lures themselves, not so much the setup, rod, reel, where to throw all that stuff. Like I said, this is just the top lures. So number 2 is going to be a square bill crankbait. And here's another good cold, muddy water color, just that chartreuse and black back. And I like that little bit of orange on the bottom. Same thing with my spinnerbait. I think they can kind of key in on that orange. You know, I think it stands out a little bit. And especially this time of the year, you know, oranges and reds are really good colors. So that little hint of orange can really help you get some extra bites. So like, that's my number 2, is just a square bill crankbait. And I'm gonna add to that, it's the same lure, just a different color. This is gonna be a crawfish color. This is a dark red on top that's got some lighter orange on the bottom, and then like a really dark red on top, almost like a brown. So that's my 2 colors on the square bill crankbait. Just a crawfish, you know, a deep red, and then that chartreuse and black that, you know, everybody's known and loved for many years. And then my 3rd bait that I've got for you is just a, you know, old black and blue jig. This thing's been around for 60 years. Like I said, just that little, I'm gonna bang it up against everything, I guess. That little black and blue jig right there, that's a perfect bait. Like I said, cold, muddy water. Obviously, it works year-round, but especially when the fish get really finicky, that cold water, you know, they don't really want to bite. And then, of course, that mud, it dinges up the water, makes it hard to see. So that black is something that stands out. And I've actually got on a finesse jig right here. It's a little bit smaller profile, but I've got a big crawfish trailer on the back, so you know it's going to be flapping back and forth really good, so it's going to put off a lot of movement in the water. But that's my 3rd bait right there for some cold, muddy water, just a black and blue jig and a finesse jig at that. You could obviously go to a full-size jig or a flipping jig, something like that. But for me, you know, where I live, when the water is really cold and really muddy, those fish might not want a big bait, and you just kind of want to get something that they can see and find, but also not something that's so big where they don't want to bite it. Because a lot of times when the water is cold and muddy, they get kind of tight-lipped and don't want to bite much. And so my last bait, my honorable mention, that was my top 3. Number 1 is that spinnerbait, chartreuse and white with a paddle tail and a gold willow leaf, and then an orange Colorado. Number 2 is going to be a square bill crankbait, chartreuse and black, or a red crankbait, you know, crawfish color. And then number 3 is that black and blue jig, and specifically for me, a finesse jig. And the honorable mention right here, especially the last couple years, y'all already know that fire crawl jackhammer. This right here is an awesome bait, caught a lot of big fish on it. Lots of money has been won on this bait the last 2 or 3 years, and this is my honorable mention. I didn't put it in there with the spinnerbait because for me, I like that spinnerbait a lot better. I can just barely turn that handle and get that blade thumping. You kind of have to reel this a little bit faster. You can still reel it really slow, but I'm talking about crawling that spinnerbait, it does a whole lot better than this this chatterbait right here, but this is my honorable mention, just a fire crawl chatterbait, and I have a paddles hell swim bait that's, you know, got some red and black in it, but that's another really great lure for cold, muddy water, especially this time of the year, you know, early spring. I mean, those fish are still 2 months away, a month and a half from even thinking about spawning. So this right here is a good color for early pre-spawn. And like I said, that cold, muddy water is the main thing, but I just want to make this quick video real quick because I was in my room, you know, I'm thinking about video ideas, and I happened to look over, and these are the 5 rods that I brought with me in my last video where I caught 2 or 3 big fish on a spinnerbait. This is the exact rods that I brought. If you rewatch the video, you can see these rods laying on the front deck of the boat. So, you know, this is no line, no making stuff up. This is literally what I brought with me 2 days ago to go fishing. So I just wanted to talk about it in this video, just my top 3 lures, plus that honorable mention in there. But like I said, I know I didn't go over my setups, rod, reels, all that stuff. So look in my description. I'm gonna have it wrote out like spinnerbait setup, and it'll be in blue writing. You can just click that to look at my setup on a separate video. But like I said, thank y'all so much for watching this one. And if you missed my first video of the year, be sure to check it out. We caught some big fish on a spinnerbait and flipping. So it was, like I said, a really good video and a good start to the year. And thank y'all so much for watching this one, and I'll see y'all next time.